Tonight on The Buzz, we are looking at new storage technology. Storage is constantly evolving and increasingly critical to media creation. Tonight, we talk with industry leaders in the storage world about what's new, what we need to watch, and how to keep older systems current. We start with Tom Coughlin, the president of Coughlin Associates and senior IEEE member, about the latest in storage technology. Next, David Feller is the vice president of product management and systems engineering for Spectra. They've been in storage for almost 40 years, and tonight, David explains how they can help small workgroups archive projects and work files for the long term. Next, Nathaniel Cooper is the COO of ProMAX Systems. They are in the business of creating shared storage for video creators and editors. Tonight, Nathaniel explains what their shared storage does and how it competes with others in the market. Next, for those with older systems, Larry O'Connor, the founder and CEO of OWC, joins us to explain how to upgrade your existing gear to improve performance without breaking the bank. All this plus James DeRuvo with our weekly doddleNEWS update. The Buzz starts now.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking.
Authoritative.
One show serves a worldwide network of media professionals.
Current.
Uniting industry experts.
Production.
Filmmakers.
Post-production.
And content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
Welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for the creative content industry, covering media production, post-production, and marketing around the world. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. So the conversation between Debbie Price, our producer, and myself always starts the same way. Debbie, I say, we need to talk about storage. Storage, she says. We talked about storage last month and the month before that. What do we have to say that's new? While many editors wrestle with deciding what speed CPU they need to get, CPU speed is no longer the determining factor in the performance of our editing systems. Storage is. As we move to higher resolutions, HDR, even faster frame rates, our file sizes explode. The speed our systems can move data between storage and our computer determines how fluidly we can edit. And the capacity of our storage determines whether we can even edit at all. No part of technology is innovating faster than the storage industry, so tonight, we want to take a look at new trends in technology that you need to know about. We start with Tom Coughlin, an engineer and consultant who's been working in the storage industry for decades. He gives us a comprehensive look at the latest trends in storage. Before we start, though, I want to invite you to subscribe to our free weekly show newsletter at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Every issue, every week, provides quick links to the different segments on the show, plus articles of interest to filmmakers. Best of all, it's free and comes out every Saturday morning. And now it's time for our doddleNEWS update with James DeRuvo. Hello, James.
Happy May, Larry.
And a wonderful spring day to you. It's beautiful weather outside. What have you got that's news for us this week?
You remember last week you talked about that rumored DJI drone?
You have been talking about rumored drones since I first met you.
Well, yeah, I like drones. What can I say? DJI did announce a new drone, but it wasn't the drone we were expecting. Phantom 4 Pro version 2 drone. It comes with a quieter rotor system, so it's quieter when you fly, an improved forward obstacle sensing system, and a 4-kilometer transmission range. It has a 1-inch 4K sensor for shooting 4K at 60 frames per second, supports H.265 and H.264, and comes with DJI's new OcuSync HD transmission system, which transmits dual signals to both your RC controller and the DJI goggles so that you can pilot virtually.
Impressive though those goggles are, this doesn't seem like a very big upgrade. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's true. It's not. We were expecting a drone with interchangeable lenses, and instead we got fins. And what I mean by that is, in technology, there's a tick-tock development cycle. The tick is the innovative features and new designs, while the talk is further refinements of the existing design with a few new features thrown in. While drone watchers were hoping for that new innovative interchangeable lens system, they were disappointed because all we got was fins. And what do I mean by fins? Fins harkens back to the 1964 Cadillac. You may remember that, Larry. I'm sure you had one, which was identical to the 63 model, but had space-age fins in the back instead. Other than that, you couldn't tell the difference between the two. So DJI thinks that giving the Phantom that extended range is a cool feature. FAA rules require stating that drones need to be within eyesight at all times. So you'd have to be Superman to see a white speck in a blue background for 4 kilometers away.
Okay, what's next?
Adobe is announcing a really cool educational initiative that I think is a reaction to Apple's education initiative that was announced last month. Beginning this month, students and educators will be able to get a Creative Cloud subscription for this, get this, $5 a year. Schools must purchase a minimum of 500 licenses at a time, school districts 2,500, and the licenses are good in a bring-your-own-device fashion, even off campus, giving kids access to video, photography, web design, 24/7 access so they can do their homework at home. The license is also compliant with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act and extends from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Very cool. What's your opinion about this?
I think this is a very smart initiative as it prepares the next generation of Adobe customers to begin mastering Creative Cloud in the educational environment. And it motivates them to continue that education in the post-secondary environment, where Adobe can reap the benefits of their investment. It's also clearly, like I said, a response to Apple's educational initiative. But unfortunately, my teenager's graduating at the end of the month, and he's going to miss it.
So you've highlighted DJI and Adobe. What's our third story this week?
Well, you remember that innovative red hydrogen Android smartphone?
With the holographic display.
The 4V holographic display. We've all been waiting for it. Well, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be delayed until the fall. Carrier certification is probably the culprit here, as Red founder Jim Jannard says it's taking longer to get wireless carriers on board. Red is taking that time to refine the design of the innovative 4-view camera, which can now shoot natively from both rear and front-facing cameras without the need of an additional module. And in the meantime, they're also partnering with Facebook to create a virtual reality camera that could be based on the 4-view sensors of the Hydrogen platform.
Should we worry about this delay?
No, I don't think so. Anybody who owns an Android phone knows that carrier certification is a common thing. While iPhone users enjoy Apple's our way or the highway approach, Android is a more open source platform, and carriers often drag their feet on operating system upgrades, camera designs, and even add features of their own into the Android system before they seed them out for updates. So with something as innovative as Red's holographic imagery, it's not surprising at all that the carriers would want to take their time to consider how to best market it.
Okay, those are our 3 top stories. What other stories?
Other stories we're following include Apple fixes a crucial bug in Final Cut Pro's editing timeline that could delete your footage. There's an auction going on for some seasoned Arri film cameras. And how about building your own DIY wireless follow focus out of Legos?
And where can we go on the web to get these and all the rest of your stories?
All these stories and more can be found at doddleNEWS.com.
And James DeRuvo is the editor-in-chief of DoddleNEWS and joins us every week. Thanks, James. Talk to you next Thursday.
See you next week.
Here's another website I want to introduce you to, doddleNEWS.com. DoddleNEWS gives you a portal into the broadcast, video, and film industries. It's a leading online resource presenting news, reviews, and products for the film and video industry. DoddleNEWS also offers a resource guide and crew management platform specifically designed for production. These digital call sheets, along with their app, directory, and premium listings, provide in-depth organizational tools for busy production professionals. DoddleNEWS is a part of the Thalo Arts community, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with resources you need to succeed. Whether you want the latest industry news, need to network with other creative professionals, or require state-of-the-art online tools to manage your next project, there's only one place to go: doddleNEWS.com. Tom Coughlin is a Silicon Valley consultant, a storage analyst, a senior member of the IEEE, and the organizer of the annual Storage Visions and Creative Storage Conferences. Hello, Tom. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Larry. It's good to be back.
In tonight's program, we're looking at current storage technology, and as you know, media devours storage. So as someone who closely follows the industry, what new storage technology should we pay attention to?
Well, there's an awful lot going on, Larry, with regard to how people are doing their workflows nowadays. And some of the technologies having a big impact on that are, I think, a rising use of very fast flash memory storage. It's being driven by move to 4K and even up to 8K content, the higher frame rates required, and in addition, the multi-camera project that VR and other applications are making popular now. The other important trend, I think, is people trying to figure out where cloud storage fits into their workflows and what they want to do using cloud resources versus on-premise. And so I think those are two of the big areas where there's developments going on. One other thing I think that's not storage itself, but is having a big impact on storage, is the use of various types of what are often called artificial intelligence technologies in order to better understand content. I think there's going to be a trend even to use machine learning and other technologies to generate metadata when you ingest content, making it a lot easier to find and use that content once you've got it in the system, whether it be on-premise or in the cloud.
Well, one of the challenges we have, especially as we move into higher resolutions in 4K and HDR, is just bandwidth. How important is the interface that we use to connect to our storage?
I think the interface is very important. There's a trend towards moving away from specialized interfaces, SDI, and some of those interfaces that have been used in the industry for a long time, and towards using Internet protocols, so essentially using Ethernet in order to be able to connect things. I think there's a rising trend in that, and that, I think, will help drive down the cost and the ease of management of this technology. The other thing is that because the sheer volume of Ethernet connectivity and the demand on bandwidth overall, we're starting to see going beyond 10 to 25, 40, even 100 gigabit Ethernet being available, which provides speeds that are now starting to exceed those of traditional fiber channel or other technologies that are out there. So that's on the network side of it. On the device side, the increasing use of flash memory is driving a new interface technology, fairly new, called NVMe. That's non-volatile memory express is what that stands for, which is being used in a lot of flash memory and other non-volatile memory technologies. So those are, I think, a couple of the important interface trends, both on the networking side, in addition to the individual device side as well. And, of course, besides that, you've also got increasing use of things like Thunderbolt using USB-C and the speed that makes possible as well. So faster bandwidth is required for all of these new technologies, higher frame rates and HDR, whether it be the bandwidth for networking or the bandwidth for a direct attached device or something that's internal to a computer or other workstation.
Every time you give me an answer, I've got 5 more questions. We already want to talk about cloud storage and AI related to storage and flash related to storage and shared storage. I want to go back to flash for just a second. Flash is still a whole lot more expensive than spinning disk. What's going to drive flash prices down?
One of the things that's been going on the last couple of years is, first of all, you've got a trend moving away from the planar technologies, which essentially built all the flash memory cells on a single plane of a silicon wafer, to a 3D technology. And that's been going on for about 5 or 6 years now. What's going to drive down the cost of flash is, first of all, higher density of the flash, and therefore you can get more bits in a given wafer, and that'll drive down, and also a given chip that goes into the flash memory device. That'll drive down the cost. The other thing is that transition from the planar to this three-dimensional technology required building whole new fabs. So the cost and time it took to get those semiconductor fabrication facilities up and running and having good yields has caused the last year and a half, a shortage in solid-state devices, the availability of the product versus the demand, and so the prices had increased quite a bit. This year, I think we're starting to see some softening of those prices as this new capacity, these new plants come online, and they have higher density products and also more wafer capacity available. So I think that will help provide, besides the demand and that people need that bandwidth, they need that speed for these new workflows, the price of that storage will also be going down because of higher densities that are happening, but also because there's going to be higher manufacturing capacity to make the wafers that they build the chips from.
What's the difference between the new memory you were talking about, NVMe, if I remember correctly, and flash? Or is it two words for the same thing? Flash
memory is the solid-state memory that is most used. There are some new technologies as well. NVMe actually refers to an interface for flash memory devices. For instance, you can build SSDs that uses NVMe interface. So it's like the connectivity. And the reason why it was developed was that flash memory, for instance, with SSDs that were using SATA or SCSI interfaces, the traditional hard disk drive interfaces, had a lot of overhead and latency issues that didn't take the full advantage of the capabilities of the flash memory. So the manufacturers of flash memory and the controllers and a lot of the, especially hyperscale end users, have gotten together and they've developed this NVMe interface, which gets rid of a lot of those latencies and overheads that were built for the days of hard disk drive, which were a little slower in getting to data, and allow you to get much more of the inherent capability of flash memory out into the actual solid-state storage device.
I want to shift gears and talk about shared storage for a couple minutes. What are the challenges in developing shared storage for smaller work groups? Is it a hardware issue or is it a software issue?
I think there's a number of things that are going on. First of all, I think definitely a move towards IP-based connectivity in local workflows. And so I think in the future there's going to be a lot more than that. And that may be providing block-based access or file-based access. And actually in a lot of media content, depending on what you're doing, you may have a storage area network gives you block-based access to information, then your file system is in the end user workstation. Or you may have a network-attached storage system, which gives you file systems built into the storage system itself, and it basically provides that data as files.
We were talking about the challenges of shared storage, and you said it's a little bit of software and a little bit of hardware, and then you used two terms that I have never been able to figure out. One is network-attached storage, a NAS, and the other is storage attached. That's it, a SAN, a NAS versus a SAN. What's the difference between these two?
They're marketing terms that were invented about 15 years ago or more even. A storage area network essentially gives you access at the block level to data. And blocks have to be combined together in order to make a file. And then the file is constructed. If you have a SAN, the file would be constructed, for instance, in the device that actually receives the blocks and assembles them into the files. That's the storage area network. A network-attached storage device actually has a file system that's built into the storage system, and so I can access files directly over a LAN network, say, for local work that I'm doing. A lot of people are using file systems in media workflows, and therefore NAS are very, very common. But sometimes some of the higher performance systems have actually used block access. With some of the newer NAS systems, that file access can be pretty fast as well. The other thing is that, again, it was kind of a marketing term, and there's a lot of storage devices that are out there that can provide you either file or block access to data, depending upon what your needs are and what your system is built around. The other type of storage that's out there is one we talked about before, which is popular in cloud storage, especially for archive storage, and that's object-based storage. And we've talked about that, I know, in previous interviews.
So if we're looking at companies like Synology or QNAP that have their own operating systems built in, that would be a network-attached storage.
Those are often network-attached storage. They provide files that you can actually, it shows up on your computer, whether it's directly connected or you're getting it through the Ethernet. It shows up and it looks like an internal hard drive or an external hard drive. You can see the files directly.
I have to bring you back because I still have 75 questions on storage, so we haven't even been able to cover, much less the cloud. But every year, you sponsor 2 storage conferences, Storage Visions and Creative Storage. What are these about?
The Creative Storage Conference is the one that I'm doing on June 7th in Culver City, California. And that one focuses on digital storage and its applications in professional media and entertainment, going all the way from the capture of content through the editing, post-production side, to content delivery, and then finally into archiving. And it looks at the applications, and we're going to have a lot of end users talking about the ways that they are, media and entertainment end users talking about the ways they're using storage and how they build their systems, in addition to some vendors who are going to be talking about their technology and how it can be used in order to support media workflows. So that's the Creative Storage Conference, and again, that's June 7th. The Storage Visions Conference is more broadly focused on digital storage technologies and their applications, and that is going to be in Santa Clara, California, this fall, October 22nd and 23rd at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Santa Clara. It's going to be a 2-day event. Again, it'll be, as the Creative Storage Conference, it'll have exhibits. There'll be some larger exhibits at Storage Visions, as well as a conference. Again, that will be with both end users as well as people who are making storage devices and selling them. So it's going to be of interest to people, media and entertainment, but other people as well. In fact, last year we actually had Scott Miller from DreamWorks, who was one of our keynote speakers, give a really fascinating talk at some of the animation work that they've done. That was at the Storage Visions Conference.
Let's focus on creative storage for a minute, because that one's coming up. That's next month.
That's right.
What's the purpose? Why did you decide to create this?
I created this because I thought that all the different things that people do in media and entertainment where they have to keep content was really interesting. Every type of storage requirement, every type of ways that you can do things with storage that are being used somewhere in media and entertainment. So I thought it was really an interesting kind of a micro world, of storage that reflects very fast storage all the way to cost-effective ways to keep content available for a long period of time. And it also was driving the technologies, like now it's flash as well as hard disk drives for capacity storage, and networking and trying to get performance out of networking, and then now moving into what do we do with the cloud versus what do we do on-premise. So I just thought it was just an interesting microcosm. And I also do a report on digital storage and media and entertainment. And, I've been studying this, and I thought it was just a really fascinating case studies of what people are doing here. And so having a conference that gave people a chance to find out about this and learn about the technologies and the way they're being used, I thought it'd be useful to folks. That's why we did creative storage.
And what does it cost to participate, to attend the conference?
So we actually have, especially for media and entertainment professionals, we have a special offer that you can get a free pass to the conference. What we ask is that you participate in a storage survey that we're doing. We're going to be actually talking about some of the end results from that survey at the conference. So I think you'll have the links on how to do that you can provide to your listeners. That's a way you can get a low cost, no cost for going to the conference if you're a media and entertainment end user. We also have the discount registrations available as well. And the general website is creativestorage.org, so www.creativestorage.org.
That website is all one word, creativestorage.org, not .com, creativestorage.org, and Tom Coughlin is a Silicon Valley consultant and the producer of the annual Storage Visions and Creative Storage conferences. I like your conferences a lot, and I encourage everybody to attend. And Tom, thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much, Larry.
David Feller is the VP of Product Management and Solutions Engineering for SpectraLogic. He's got more than 25 years of experience in engineering and marketing. David also oversees Spectra's external partnership development, client certification, and client test programs. Hello, David. Welcome.
Thank you, Larry. Happy to be here.
How would you describe SpectraLogic?
We've really been a storage company for over 37 years. That's deep storage, including things like tape libraries and disk. But in the last few years, we've really been working towards a workflow company. So for media and entertainment in particular, we have direct integrations to make both the front end of video production as well as post and broadcast simpler.
There's a lot of storage companies that provide storage for smaller work groups. Why does SpectraLogic find this market interesting?
There's a lot of innovation going on in a couple of specific markets. Media and entertainment is one that really has grabbed our attention because of the changes that are going on, the integration of cloud workflows, as well as, quite frankly, the elimination of a lot of different software packages, making storage companies and media access management MAM companies really interested in the segment because we can change things. We can make things easier for people. We can lower costs. So there's a lot of opportunity here.
Give me an example.
In larger scale productions, a lot of people are using, for instance, an Avid workflow or CatDV or VizRT or one of the main media access management companies, one of the main MAM companies. But to get down to storage, usually there's a software layer in between that people are having to pay a tremendous amount of money for. They charge by how much data you have under management. We approached it a little bit differently. We said, hey, we've got a great storage business. And frankly, we want to sell you more storage. How about we just provide you something else that eliminates that middle layer of software? And we call that our Black Pearl object storage system. So we're really changing the way people interface with storage, making it easier. You right click, you say archive, and it's done. There's no other management to it.
David, this is just my own ignorance. I'm really confused about what Black Pearl does, because normally we just simply take the file from where it is and drag it to wherever it's going to be. Why does Black Pearl become necessary?
Oh, excellent question. So there is a transformation in the industry from being file-based, so just throwing a bunch of disk NAS at the problem and saying, there is a better way to save things, and it is, in fact, object storage. Object storage uses concepts of buckets and a flat storage architecture. I usually liken it, the comparison to parking in a normal parking lot versus doing valet parking. If you park in a normal parking lot, sometimes that's slow. You got to make it through all the rows and figure out where you parked and get your stuff back. For object storage, all you have to give me is the valet ticket. All I need to know is the name of that thing that you want back. It doesn't matter where it was before. It doesn't matter what kind of system it was stored on. It's just something that has value, and I can hand it back to you very quickly. Black Pearl implements that with a policy-based system behind it for everything past the post-production. As I'm doing final renders and I'm saving off all the raw, even saving raw ingested things in the beginning, that I can get it back very efficiently and I can save it forever. So it's a policy-based object storage system, just makes the whole thing easier. You can have storage buckets, if you will, for each department or each group that all have their own policies. So the post-production folks could say, hey, I want a copy on tape. I want another copy on tape that's ejected. I want to drop a copy on Amazon. I want a copy on disk so I can get it back really quickly. And that all happens all behind the scenes automatically within the Black Pearl system. And a different group can have different policies. So basically, we make this very, very simple for the end user. So the end user doesn't have to know what's going on from a storage standpoint in the background. Their stuff is just available all the time. Plus, it's there forever with our long-term storage systems.
If I'm a smaller work group, what products should I look at from SpectraLogic?
We call it our stack library. It's for you. It can hold up to 80 tapes. Incredible amount of storage down there as well. But those systems start under $10,000. So even for small production houses, between Black Pearl and a very small library, we can get people started at really great entry-level prices. And you have all the same functionality. It just won't store an exabyte of data until you expand.
But you used a very interesting word. You said it was tape. Why should we consider tape when we've got the vast expansiveness of the cloud?
If I'm very small, if I were a small IT company just getting started, I wouldn't do anything but the cloud. There are great reasons to go to the cloud. But for media and entertainment, if you're doing real-time editing, especially in this market of high definition video, there is not enough bandwidth on the planet to allow you to really do that effectively in the cloud. Some portions of that workflow just have to be done locally. So we've got great fast disk systems to allow you that access, plus the ability to have this true disaster recovery model. There's a lot of reasons for tape. They say, the best high bandwidth pipe and the lowest cost one is a suitcase full of tapes in a FedEx truck going across the country. There is a limit to the amount of bandwidth that people have, and there are some great uses for tape, both for prolonging. It's good for 30 years. There's no other media format that's like that. And the really interesting part is we found people are now monetizing older content faster than they ever have before. Every time something interesting happens out there, everybody's searching for, well, show me the video of whatever from 20 years ago, and it's actually worth money if you can put your fingers on it. So a great testament to MAM companies, to long-term storage, and frankly, companies like ours.
Well, one of the challenges that we face as filmmakers is the constant technological obsolescence, not just of hardware, but software, and more importantly, codecs. Can you help us in this regard as well?
Oh, absolutely. And people beat around the bush a little bit. The really tough question that people ask sometimes is, well, what if you're not around? What if SpectraLogic's not around, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is? How do I even get my data back? And so that's a huge thing for us. It's the standardization of how you store things. So there's a couple of major things going on. We store everything in just absolute industry standard format. You can literally take, if we're talking tape, for instance, you can take a tape out of one of our huge, really cool robotic libraries, put it in a standalone, USB connected tape drive, and read it like a USB stick. So first is you have forever access to your data. And the second one is with your data, every company has to have a process whereby they're archiving not just the product, in fact, not just the rendered content, but they need to be archiving, the backup copy of the software created it, as well as the codec. So there's a big push in the market to, on a yearly basis, basically have a backup of everything that you use to create that content, so that, at a minimum, you can read it and play it back.
For people that are interested in the range of solutions, from disk to tape to robots, where can they go on the web?
It's spectralogic.com. There's two different ways you can go look at things. You can certainly go look at products. That tends to be a little mind-numbing if you don't already know what you're looking for. But the other really interesting thing is you can look at solutions. You can say, hey, I'm in the media and entertainment industry, and dive down that way. What really is available to you? One of the fascinating things is our partner page. We sell storage all day long. It's a great business, but this really doesn't work without our partners. So we have direct integration with people like Avid, CatDV, EMAM, Imagen, all the biggies that people are using on a daily basis to actually render their data, but you can do direct archive from there as well. So a lot of information on our website.
The website is all one word, SpectraLogic, SpectraLogic, SpectraLogic.com, and go to the Solutions page on their website. David Feller is the VP of Product Management and Solutions Engineering for SpectraLogic. And David, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun.
Nathaniel Cooper runs day-to-day operations as the Chief Operating Officer for ProMAX. This includes supervising marketing, sales, integration, training, and support for all of ProMAX systems. Hello, Nathaniel. Welcome.
Hey, Larry. How's it going?
It's going great, because I'm really looking forward to our chat. How would you describe ProMAX?
We're obviously a media technology company focused on the shared storage side of things. And we really focus on kind of bringing shared storage, asset management, backup, and archive all rolled into a single product. Our tagline is always, getting back to creative. It's really true. There's these complex media environments that people are trying to manage, and we want to make that as easy as possible for, non-IT professionals that just want to be creative.
Well, in tonight's show, we're looking at storage from a variety of points of view. Increasingly, media creators are working collaboratively. What makes creating shared storage so difficult and, in many cases, expensive?
It's become easier. It's still not just simple out of the box stuff, but I look back to 15, 20 years ago when we were all kind of starting down the shared storage road in film, video, audio production. Back then it was, if you could just get something to play back, you were a wizard. You could build, and a lot of people did build really good businesses around that. Today, technology's become, as it does, faster, cheaper, better, and in lots of different ways. Where I find that there's still a lot of complexity is the connecting users, getting people to be able to hit play on a timeline and edit something in a collaborative environment has gotten pretty easy, but our average customer has a couple hundred terabytes, and that can be a work group of 3 or 4 people that have literally hundreds of terabytes, and managing data that's that valuable, that has that much, that has a high performance requirement, and trying to manage that over a period of time can be pretty complex. So having the tools to do that is something that's really pretty unique to our kind of niche in the industry.
I want to talk more about the software that goes with your products, because that's, I think, one of your defining factors. But I also want to take a step back first. How would you differentiate your products from the products that are sold by EditShare or LumaForge, which also provide shared storage with software support?
Both really good companies that I've got a lot of respect for. I think LumaForge, they've really been focused on the FCPX part of the market, which is where they provide a lot of their unique value. EditShare is probably a little bit closer to ProMAX in that we're focused on a lot of different Adobe, Avid, Final Cut environments. And we're similar in that both EditShare and ProMAX have kind of the whole scope of asset management, LTO backup, archive, kind of all of these different components that we build for our companies. Where we really, kind of have our unique value is we put all of those components of that software into a single interface. And almost surprisingly to me, there's nobody else that offers kind of all 3 of those major components in a single product, in a single piece of software, which for us is so absolutely core at why we even exist. Because as silly as it is, and it seems arbitrary and silly, but even logging out of one system and logging into your archive system or your separate asset management adds this level of complexity that most of the users that we work with, the last thing they want to do is add complexity. So having all of that built into one piece of software is really where we provide unique value that helps our customers.
What does the term collaboration mean to you?
Collaboration is just the ability to have a group of people working towards a common goal. That could be commonly for a lot of our customers, that means everybody's got their specialty. Somebody's focused on VFX, where somebody's focused on editing, somebody else is focused on the audio side. And being able to use the strengths of individuals to accomplish a team goal, a team effort. All of this technology that we're talking about is to make that collaboration, that team effort as seamless, as easy as possible.
Who would you describe as a typical client?
Any group on the smaller side, when you've got a group of 2 or 3 creative or content creators, usually focused more on the video side, but that's much more of the commonality these days. Every company wants video. We work with a lot of agencies where, whether it's a marketing agency, advertising, video production agency, a lot of smaller businesses where they've got those work groups from 3 to 12 kind of creative users. And then we also work with a lot of big organizations, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies that have internal video departments. In either case, the customers are still very similar, doing very similar work. It tends to be end-to-end production. They're actually out there shooting, they're editing, they're delivering that end product, that video to whoever their customer is, or internally if their customer is internal. Those work groups, commonly they range between, 2 to 3 users. Up on the larger side of average is kind of 20, 25 actual creative users that are working on that in a creative environment. And then, there's a few of them out there where, you've got 50 to 100 people actively doing audio or video production off of those servers.
What's the name of your product and what does it do?
Our main product line is referred to in the broad spectrum as ProMAX platform. We've got different categories of that ProMAX platform product that range from, those smaller work group needs all the way up to the big enterprise stuff. So it just kind of depends on performance requirements, codecs formats that you work in, what kind of hardware you need. As far as what it does, it's a combination of shared storage to enable that collaboration, but then the asset management side as well as backup and archive. Because, like I said earlier, where these things get complicated is both having the tools and understanding how to properly protect your data even beyond just a RAID set. But then also managing that data, these very, very large amounts of data over a long period of time. It's not a simple thing to back up 100 terabytes here and there. And it's certainly not a simple thing to be able to quickly and easily find that project file from 4 years ago. The different parts of our product are all built in there to make those things easy for people. And then we also add a lot of other, kind of fun little add-on features, things like transcoding, After Effects and Cinema 4D rendering capabilities. We want this to be the technology in your facility outside of your workstations is all kind of built into platform.
And for people that want more information, where can they go on the web?
You can just go to promax.com, PROMAX.com, and you'll find all sorts of fun information there.
That website is all one word, PROMAX, ProMAX.com. And Nathaniel Cooper is the COO for ProMAX. And Nathaniel, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Larry.
I want to introduce you to a new website, Thalo.com. Thalo is an artist community and networking site for creative people to connect, be inspired, and showcase their creativity. Thalo.com features content from around the world with a global perspective on all things creative. Thalo is the place for creative folks to learn, collaborate, market, and sell their works. Thalo is a part of Thalo Arts, a worldwide community of artists, filmmakers, and storytellers. From photography to filmmaking, performing arts to fine arts, and everything in between, Thalo is filled with the resources you need to succeed. Visit Thalo.com and discover how their community can help you connect, learn, and succeed. That's Thalo.com. Larry O'Connor is the founder and CEO of Otherworld Computing, which we all know as OWC. He founded it in 1988. OWC is both a reseller and a developer, supporting all things Mac for more than 25 years. Hello, Larry. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Larry.
It's always a pleasure. Last week, we talked about new storage technology that filmmakers should pay attention to. This week, I want to flip the question to what we can do to extend the life of our existing computer gear. Macs are notoriously hard to upgrade, so what's possible?
It depends upon the system, and I would probably qualify, the hard to upgrade statement to really apply to the newer systems. If you go back, prior to 2012, upgrading was actually really, really, really easy. In fact, there's a lot of people, still using 2012 and prior machines because they do a great job, and everything you can add to those units via upgrade has done an incredible job extending their useful life. The newer systems, all the MacBook Airs, the MacBook Pro with Retina systems, you're pretty well limited in terms of internally just upgrading the drive. The nice thing is you can easily add more capacity now up to 2 terabytes to those 2010 to 20, actually including the 2017 Airs. And you also, depending upon what drive you start with, there's also typically a speed boost. So it's relatively limited inside, but we can do other things outside, and that's, of course, faster external storage and even docks that add a multitude of different ports and interface options so that you can keep up with what you need today.
Well, I want to talk about docks in just a minute, but when you're looking at it and you're trying to decide what to upgrade, what upgrades yield the greatest boost in performance for people who are working with media?
Memory and SSD are the number one and number two, and depending upon who you ask, you can kind of interchange. And SSD speeds absolutely everything up. If you're going from a hard drive-based solution computer, up to an SSD for your boot drive, or memory, gives those applications, a lot more, operating space to really spread their wings and maximize the use of the processor. You still have to be able to output that data, which is where an SSD combined with more memory gives you your maximum benefit. But again, depending upon what you're doing, for the really heavy involved processing, it's oftentimes more memory makes a difference. For everything, even things that don't use hardly any memory at all, almost every task you can do in a system, you get a benefit from the lightning quick response that a solid-state drive provides versus the traditional spinner. And one important note I put out there for folks who are looking at buying a new system today, or even looking at a used Mac from a few years ago, any of the systems that are MacBook Pro with Retina or MacBook Air, the memory is soldered. And that means, if it has 4 gigs or some of those older Airs only 2 gigs, or even only 8 gigabytes of memory, there is no upgrade path for those systems. So you definitely want to buy, in the media editing, any kind of workflow, applications. It's an exceptionally important investment to get the most memory you can on those laptops that are soldered. In the case of the iMac 21.5-inch, again, the memory is now soldered in those machines from 2012 and later. There's one exception in I believe, 2012, but in general, those machines are very difficult to get into. You really don't want to open them up anyway. You don't have to. So again, maximize the memory. The iMac 27-inch and the Mac Pro 2013, and in fact, every Mac Pro that Apple ever made, very easy to upgrade the memory, and you can also upgrade the solid-state drive inside those machines as well.
As a general rule, we want to get as much RAM as we can afford, but how do we determine the amount of RAM we should add to our system? Clearly, with those where the RAM is soldered in, we want to, if at all possible, get the maximum. But for those where we can add RAM later, what's the deciding factor in how much we should get?
It really depends upon, again, what your workflow is. If you're doing, After Effects, if you're doing editing frames, doing any kind of rendering, any kind of even photo editing. Well, we're going to I'll take a step back from the photo editing, but for any kind of video editing work and video processing work, more memory is almost always going to give you a benefit, as that's where you're going to have a bottleneck. On the pure photography side, it depends upon how large your image is, but if you're working with the really high-resolution images, which these cameras can take today, or you're scaling up for a large print output, a Mac Pro with 128 gigs of memory provides a substantial benefit over 96, 64, 32. So it all has to do with what you're doing, how large the files are that you're working on, and how patient you are. I suppose you can walk away from a job. Let the computer run. I suppose it doesn't matter how slow it is.
One of the things that we're starting to see more of, and you guys make both of these, is the ability to extend our system from external. You've talked about external storage, but now we've got external graphics processing units and even docks we can plug into our system. When does adding external gear make sense?
Well, with pretty much everything, again, looking at 2012 and forward that Apple's introduced, External gear makes sense when you need something that's not built into that computer. I mean, you can't add ports, you can't add PCI cards, you can't add anything. Maybe you can upgrade the SSD that your drive in some of these newer systems, but anything else, a dock is where you're going to do it. And the nice thing about a dock via Thunderbolt, going back to the Mac Pro 2012 and earlier, you had PCIe slots. Slots inside the computer you could put cards into to add different kinds of external capabilities, eSATA, SAS, fast Ethernet, even the PCI expansion boxes. Thunderbolt effectively gives you PCIe lanes externally. It lets you, when you plug a dock in, it's kind of like plugging a PCIe card. That's a direct connection using Thunderbolt to via the PCIe bus. So it's the fastest interconnect you can have, and that's how you can add, whether it's USB 3 or, a display port, fast, additional like USB 3 ports, 10G Ethernet, heck, even 40G Ethernet for that matter. It gives you that processor direct interface that used to be just inside the computer. Now you can plug things in external, including even today external GPUs.
With the external gear, upgrading is easy. You just simply plug the cable into the computer and wave a magic wand, and it's pretty much ready to go. But for internal upgrades, for those systems that we can upgrade the SSD or the RAM, is this something we can do ourselves, or are we better off giving it to a professional?
It depends upon the computer. The Mac Pro 20, all the Mac Pros, the iMac 27-inch, excluding the iMac Pro, MacBook Pros and MacBooks, they have optical drives going, prior to 2012, and the Mac Mini models that existed up until they put the 2014 model out. All of those are defined as user upgradable. We have great videos online at MacSales.com and OWC Digital that show you how to do it. So, it's not only something that Apple intended to have, well, I guess I shouldn't really say Apple necessarily intended, but ultimately Apple provided the tech notes and supported people doing these upgrades. And, we have videos that take it a step further and really show how easy it is. Now, you get into some of the newer systems, like the 21.5-inch iMac, for example, when it comes to memory. That's something you probably want. You're going to be very patient. It's not hard to do. None of these systems that are upgradable are really hard to upgrade, but some of them are very detailed. They started gluing, actually it's a glue tape that attaches the screen, the display to the iMac frame starting in 2012. So to get inside that iMac, you have to literally cut the screen off. It's kind of, it's a little bit intimidating.
A little bit.
Okay, it's very intimidating, and the video, definitely doesn't try to make it look easy. But I have friends who have done it. I've done it. People of all ages have done it. It's less about being difficult. It's more, if you follow the video and are patient, it's very straightforward. It's just it's kind of a bear. It's 45 minutes to an hour of your time to do that upgrade.
How you manage to keep all these models in mind just completely amazes me. For people that want more information about what upgrades are possible for the hardware that they've got, where can they go on the web?
Going to MacSales, MacSales.com is a great place to go. We have an upgrade guide that lets you just plug in your system ID, select what you like to upgrade. It will show you what upgrades match, and then you can even watch the videos and make a determination whether that's an upgrade you're comfortable doing, or if that's something, maybe it's time to take it to service. So, MacSales.com will certainly help you make that decision.
That website is MacSales, all one word, MacSales, MacSales.com, and Larry O'Connor is the founder and CEO of OWC. And Larry, it is always fun to talk with you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, as always, thanks for having me, Larry. Have a great evening.
And you too. Bye-bye. I was just thinking, one of the trends in storage that's becoming increasingly significant is support for collaboration. In the past, as Nathaniel mentioned, any kind of collaborative workflow took a lot of money, plus IT support. Today, systems from ProMAX, LumaForge, and EditShare support collaboration almost out of the box. While I'm still dubious about editorial collaboration in the cloud, there is no doubt that the cloud enables teams to easily work together in pre-production and video review. Just getting the latest rough cut in front of everyone that needs to see it, then collecting their comments afterward, is a huge time saver. It used to be that even entry-level solutions for on-premise shared storage required writing 5-figure checks. Today, even the smallest workgroups can purchase easily affordable shared storage containing dozens of terabytes of capacity. The editing systems we use are also making team projects easier than ever, with the surprising exception of Apple. Avid, Adobe, and Blackmagic Design all support team projects in some form. What's even more important to me is that the storage vendors realize that as the number of files media creators generate continues to skyrocket, we also need tools that help us manage and archive our media. Again, in the past, those tools cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, companies like Spectra and ProMAX include them as part of their basic system. It's become clear that the future of media is more files, bigger files, and the need for faster connectivity between our computers and our storage. It's good to note that the storage industry sees the same trends and is moving to provide us the tools that we need. Just something I'm thinking about. I want to thank our guests this evening, Tom Coughlin with Coughlin Associates, David Feller with Spectralogic, Nathaniel Cooper with ProMAX, Larry O'Connor with OWC, and James DeRuvo with doddleNEWS.com. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Here you'll find thousands of interviews, all online and all available to you today. And remember to sign up for our free weekly show newsletter that comes out every Saturday. Talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Our theme music is composed by Nathan Doogie Turner, with additional music provided by smartsound.com. Our producer is Debbie Price. My name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for listening to the Digital Production Buzz. The Digital Production Buzz is copyright 2018 by Thalo LLC.